Hey, this is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and this one's awesome. It's with Justin Clemons. He's a photographer. Well, he's not just a photographer, he's an amazing photographer. And I'm more than grateful that he took the time to sit down with me. My connection to Justin is between two people that I've already interviewed on this show. One is John Fleming, the artist, an amazing artist. I'll put a link to his stuff below. When I was doing research prior to our interview, I ran across a couple photos that were just these incredible photos of John in his studio, and they were by Justin Clemons. And then so I started following his work. And then my good friend Kelly Adele, who happens to be an amazing artist and photographer, she mentioned that she was taking this course called That Photo School from Justin Clemons. My life has been a little chaotic, and I signed up for it. It's so spectacular. So those are the connections. And as I got deeper into the school, I realized that this is someone I want to talk to and someone that I want to share their story as well as their vision and their passion and how they found their voice and all these different questions I had about photography. That Photo School, I'll put links below to that. It's a very special course. There's a lot of online photography courses where you take classes and then that's it. Well, this is a community that Justin has built, a very supportive, amazing community. There's a private Facebook group as well as there's a course at thatphotoschool.com. But at the core, it's a connection with Justin and this group of amazing photographers, so you become part of a photography community. If you have questions that are business related, equipment related, lighting related, it's focusing mostly on lighting. And lighting is so key and so important, and I don't do the best lighting on this show. It's something when you see a great photo that you don't even realize that it's been lit the way it has been. And we go in depth about so many different topics within the photography world, within his journey and his path. He's done a lot of work for Texas Monthly and a tremendous amount of publications and brands, and his work is just exceptional, and I know you'll stumble across it after you've seen this. But moreover, he's just a great guy, and it's a fantastic conversation. I thoroughly think that you'll enjoy this and get a lot out of it and be moved by his approach to life and to photography. So again, I can't thank him enough for taking the time. If you're interested in photography and lighting especially, check out That Photo School. He also has a co-working space for creatives called Flocc Studio, FLOCC, which just sounds killer. If I lived in Dallas, I would definitely want to be a part of that and take advantage of that because it's pretty amazing. So sit back and enjoy this. If you're digging these, please subscribe. That way you don't miss out. I do about 2 to 3 of these per week. I have a website at kevinsbbqjoints.com. At the end, stay safe and visit your local barbecue joint. Thank you very much for joining me on this day that
Yes,
everything
sure.
else that the world is shut down. Well, how are you doing? How are things going? How is your mindset right now with the way the world is and the way things are?
Well,
Yeah,
it's an
because like, oh,
interesting time to ask. I mean, not just because I started to feel pretty optimistic with the whole
mhm,
COVID thing and us kind of getting through it. But then, as of
last night.
last night, we kind of find out about Russia and Ukraine. And so I haven't dug into that really a whole lot, but it just kind of, again, makes things feel uneasy
I
and just
agree.
kind of weird. And like, what does this mean for business, for investments, for the people over there, for
Yeah.
like it's just so many questions. It kind of feels like at the beginning of COVID where
Uh-huh.
it's just all these questions and we don't have answers. So it's just like this uneasy feeling.
Yeah, that was such a weird time. I try to go back to that mindset and try to think of how I felt right when COVID was really breaking out and
Yeah.
how like, our mindsets and then yeah, it just feels uneasy and
Yeah.
things could escalate, things could maybe not, and that's how we felt with COVID. We didn't know if it would be
Yeah.
the end of society or civilization. We just
Exactly.
it's a
Yeah.
bizarre time. So I appreciate
It
you
is.
coming in this head the
Oh, for
headspace.
sure.
But I wanted to talk to you because of your deep connection with Texas, your connection with Texas Monthly, but also with makers, because I love to talk to people that are makers and I love to talk to
Hmm.
photographers and people that I'm always curious how people got to where they are today
Yeah.
and at what moment they felt like they could pursue what they're doing. So will you take do you
Yeah.
remember like I have a big list of questions, but do you remember your first camera or the first time a photograph inspired you and what made you go on this path? That's
Yeah,
six
that's a
questions
good
in one.
question. So my parents always wanted me to go to college, of course, get a degree. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just took a photography course and was like, I'll take one of these and just kind of see if I enjoy that. Um, really liked it, but I still didn't think I'm going to make a career in this. I actually got an old Canon AE1,
Okay.
this film 35 millimeter camera, super cheap. And back then, I mean, this is at the very beginning of 2000, maybe 1999. So in school, we're still working with film and
Hmm.
printing and developing and all that.
Can,
Anyways,
can you still smell the room that where you developed?
oh,
Because
totally.
I took
Yes,
a course in college. I went
absolutely.
to San Diego State and I took a like a ancillary class, and it was, yeah, I could still
Mm.
remember that smell.
So I think like my second class, I was just taking for fun. And we got into the dark room
Okay.
and seeing these images magically appear on this paper because you add chemicals and then you
Yeah.
dry them. And like, it was just magical. And
Hmm.
so there was something there. And so then I was like, well, I don't know what else I'm going to do. I don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or really like business right now. And so it's like, I'm just going to kind of continue down this path until I figure it out, and just got deeper and deeper and deeper.
Was this an inspirational teacher too?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
So that was at Collin College, which they have an amazing photo program. And then I went to North Texas to
Okay.
actually get my degree in photography. And I never really felt like I was very creative in high school. I really sucked at art. I honestly did. Um, but then there was something in going through these design classes, drawing classes, painting classes, figure drawing classes, that I learned to just like loosen up. I think the problem was I tried to be so specific, everything needed to be perfect. And I learned to just be
Yeah.
gestural and just kind of let things go. And then this whole side of me, this creative side of me, burst open because I never really felt like I fit in so many different crowds in high school, but
Hmm.
I didn't fit with the artist crowd either until like I kind of broke loose in that, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
because
and
that
it,
crowd, it's probably in high school, was deep into it and
yeah, yeah,
passionate about it in
totally.
a way that maybe you didn't. Because that's I've noticed that with people, and I've
Yes.
noticed it with myself too, that sometimes people are so deep into something that it feels weird to, because you feel
Yeah.
like you're not ready to
Because
go
you're
all
not there
in.
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then so at talking about the professor, um, towards the I think maybe my junior year, my senior year, my professor Dorna Doherty, she's absolutely amazing. She's a big deal actually in photography. So she pulled me out of class one day and she said, Justin, you actually are like really good. I think you could have a career in this. Um, like let me help you find like a internship or something.
Okay.
And just having her say that to me, just like that
Yeah.
confidence, just that like someone believes in me, thinks I could do this for a living. Because I still didn't like see myself as a photographer. I saw myself as like in the industry, maybe doing something. But for her to be like, hey,
Mhm.
you got something, like you can do this, was massive. Like I can't even express how massive that was for me.
She's still
So
alive?
she is. Yeah.
Okay.
We're still connected. She actually will still send some of her best students to me to
Really?
intern for me.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
So we have a connection still, which is awesome.
And
So
that's the power of, it's amazing that that little thing, which isn't little, it's actually enormous, but how that put you on that path. And
yeah.
always thought about how people, when they call themselves a photographer, at what point do they feel comfortable calling themselves a photographer? And
Yeah.
is it once you've gotten paid to be a photographer, is that when you feel like you can call yourself, like, what is that? What is that
That's a
moment?
good question.
Sorry,
I
I thought
think,
a lot about this. I have a lot of free
well,
time.
I think like in quotes, photographer. I think some people call themselves photographers before they should.
I agree.
I
I
think
agree.
that's out there. Just because you own a camera that your parents bought you doesn't mean you're a
Hmm.
photographer. You do photography, um, but I don't know. I think there's maybe different levels of being a photographer.
Yeah,
For
and it's
me,
like,
it's like it's your passion. It's like what you do. It's the majority of you making money.
mhm.
It's at a certain level. You could be a photographer and for a hobbyist and enjoy it.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that. But
yeah, and you don't have to necessarily, and you could be a really good photographer and have never sold it. I think it's just something that you
yeah,
really
absolutely.
like. It's funny too, because I was thinking actually last night that when I started rock climbing, indoor rock climbing,
Mm,
wherever I would go after, like when I really got into it, I'd see climbing, like, well, like everything within 8 feet or 10 feet of me, I'd say, oh, I can climb that. Like, it was just, my mind would want to climb it or think about it. And then
yeah,
as soon as I got into photography really deeply, I started to think, you think differently, you see the world differently. And I'm
yeah.
sure you you see the world completely differently. At what point was
Yeah.
that at that point, was that, were you starting to see the world differently, and I'm sure you continued to.
Yeah, that's a good question. Not at that point. I think that came later for me. I think there's so much learning and progressing that you have to do getting into photography. And so I got my BFA in photography, then I started assisting. And so for 3 to 4 years, my focus is like, how can I be a better assistant and learn all the lighting and take care of this photographer? And so
Yeah.
it a couple of years in, then I'm thinking, okay, am I going to be doing this all my life? I probably should be shooting more and building my portfolio up. So then I start doing that. And then once that kind of switches for you to, it's not about helping other photographers or seeing photography, but like, I want to create really beautiful, amazing things.
Mhm.
Then I think you start seeing the world differently. There was a pretty significant switch for me where I'm shooting when I would get a job. It's just little editorial jobs here in town, for like $100 or
Yeah.
something, but I'm building my portfolio. And then I just take a zoomed out point of view of my work, and I realize it all kind of looks the same. My normal thing is to throw up a big octabank at a 45-degree angle. The person's there. I've got it. It's done. Looks pretty. And then it's over. And yeah, I had some pretty images, but there wasn't anything that really grasped people or got people's attention. And then the switch was, I'm like, okay, what do the other people I look up to? The Dan Winters, he's an
Oh,
Austin, amazing photographer.
he's one of my favorite
Um,
people.
he's amazing. I mean, so many like Texas Monthly photographers, Randall Ford, Chris Buck, all these people, I would look at their work and be like, okay, they're doing something different. They're
Yeah.
thinking through a photograph before they show up. They're bringing
Yes.
props. They're thinking about lighting. They're having go bys. And so then it changed to, okay, I'm not going to just go with an octabank and shoot, try and figure it out while I'm on set. But now I'm going to like process, think through, bring props. Like, what's the story about? I want to visually tell the story for this magazine. Um, then it really started to like go deep in my brain.
And that's what, and I want to get to talk about that photo school, because I feel, or TPS probably, as maybe you sometimes if you're
Well,
texting it to somebody.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I want to talk about that because once I started taking the courses, and for full disclosure, I'm not 100% in because I'm dealing with some stuff personally, but I'm taking the courses, and it's amazing. But I think that's good, because a lot of people don't prep. I think people go, even
Yeah.
these day and age, especially in the barbecue world or the food world, and just go, and it's important to prep and to have go bys and to have
Yeah.
an idea, a story. And I think that the photos that tell a story are the ones that are the most powerful, and the ones that touch
Absolutely.
me more deeply. So that's interesting. That, I guess,
Absolutely.
once your brain went to that, so you grew up in Texas, were you always Texas centric? Is that, or were you flying, were they starting to?
Yeah, definitely majority is like Texas centric. There was a time where my ultimate goal was to be nationally known, like one of these photographers flying all over the place, shooting all this cool stuff. And then come a time where I'm like, why? Like that was more about like ego.
Mhm.
And so I kind of just like let that go. I'll shoot for national magazines, but it's usually when a national magazine is shooting down in like Texas or
Mhm.
Oklahoma or Louisiana that they'll hire me to shoot that. They're not
Gotcha.
hiring me to go shoot something in Portland. There's amazing photographers in Portland. So I'm not a Dan Winters, I'm not a Chris Buck, and I'm 100% okay with that because I I love what I do. I thoroughly enjoy it. I love helping other people progress and seeing their progression
Yeah.
and they're getting better. And so I feel like my point of view on just kind of the whole thing has changed significantly. All that to say, I'm not trying to shoot stuff in New York.
Yeah.
They've got great photographers. I love being home with my family. I'll travel some. In 2 weeks from now, I'm going up to Ohio. Actually, this is a
Oh,
really cool shoot I'm excited about. And I'm shooting for 4 days a whiskey distillery plant up
uh
in Ohio.
that's
which is freaking awesome.
Oh, it's so awesome. Whenever I see
Yes,
distilleries now on like on TV or online, I always think that would be such an amazing place to shoot.
totally.
The
Absolutely.
woods and the shadows and the yeah.
Exactly. I'm so stoked
Oh,
about
that's
it.
really cool.
So I'll do little trips like that every now and then, but I'm not like flying all over the world shooting, a ton of crazy stuff.
But
Um,
it's interesting that that was at first an aspiration. That was something that you were interested. I think it takes a while to, and I think it was an email that you said today that you have to find your voice. Like I still feel like
yeah,
I'm far from a great photographer at all, but I feel like I want to find my voice. My
yeah,
dream is to find my voice in photography.
yeah,
And I'm sure like there was a moment where you found your voice, and then
yeah,
and I can tell when I see a Justin Clemons photo now. I did
yeah,
it, and part of the reason why, like, there's two reasons why I know you. I know you because of Kelly Yandel, and I know the class because of Kelly Yandel, and she's an amazing
yeah.
photographer and artist. But
She's awesome.
also John Fleming when I was
Mm,
Jed Fleming when I started to watch his work, and then I saw that you had taken photos of him in his studio.
mm.
So but I could now tell in your spaces, you do a lot of spaces, and I think, or is it, would you consider, would you call it spaces that you do? It seems like that's a niche
I
that you
think
have that a lot of people
my
don't.
niche, my sweet spot is like environmental
Yeah,
portraits. So it's spaces and people, not just
yeah,
people on like a seamless, but people in
in
their
there,
artist
yeah.
space or whatever is what I just love. That's like I just love that.
And why you gravitated towards that so much?
I don't know. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
'cause
You
I
mentioned
am.
like yeah, you said like you could tell it's a Justin Clemens photo or whatever. Like I was always jealous of people because I felt like they have this style or whatever and I don't. Always thought, man, that's totally whatever. But then someone told me, I think an art director or photo editor I was talking to, they were like, Justin, you like totally have a style. I'm
Mhm.
like, what is it? I don't know what it is. So
Yeah,
I
I don't know
think
if I can put my finger on it, but it is.
yeah,
There's something.
I think you shoot what you love.
Mhm.
There's certain things you're going to be like drawn to if it's, dramatic lighting or if it's, I really love to light where it doesn't look like it's lit. I love it
Mhm.
for it to look natural, but I'm creating this whole environment. It's very like cinematic, like it's just like a kiss of light over here when
Mhm.
I don't like to blast light, everywhere. So anyways, people say I have a style or I have a look, but I don't ever intentionally go into something thinking, oh, I got to stick to my
Yeah,
style.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just kind of shoot what I enjoy and it naturally comes out.
And it seems it's cinematic. I think that's part of it. Part
Yeah.
of it, and not
Yeah,
always.
that's
Like
cool.
but there's something cinematic. There's a cinematic quality, and it is, yeah, it is the lighting, and that's also too that this is going to be all over the place. But hopefully, most people that are watching this are interested in photography. There's a lot of people that are getting cameras now,
Yeah,
and I want to get into too, like a little bit of your gear, just but
sure.
lighting. I didn't realize until I took this course, and I can thank Kelly and I can thank you. Is I didn't realize about how important lighting was and
Yeah.
the nuances and how, and I now when I see people like shooting a pit room or shooting something, and I see their light, I see like a Go Dog store profile, like something, I'm like, wow, like something really expensive too. I'm like, wow, that's guy's kind of crazy. But it's but I do see that how important it is, and I could sometimes see like, oh, they should have probably put another light there or done something or put some
Mm,
kind of diffuse like some.
yeah.
So I never so when did you realize that lighting was that when you were interning, that about lighting, is that when you really started to?
I think, yeah, when I was interning and then assisting, I realized that all these amazing photos that are in, because I assisted this JC Penney's photographer for a long time.
Oh.
I've assisted this editorial photographer, Adam Fish, for a long time. Andy Klein, Stuart Cohen.
Hmm.
So when I started to realize these photos in these magazines on um, these JC Penney's catalog that my mom gets, we're looking through it and I'm like, hey, I was there in that shoot.
Oh,
She's
that's
like,
so funny.
what? That's crazy. But when I
That is
realized
kind of
that
crazy.
those aren't just pull out a camera, take a photo,
Yeah.
like that room didn't look like that. That room looked horrible until we added lights. And so just to understand, like when you're looking at something on TV, on magazines,
Yeah.
on a billboard, whatever, almost all of that is carefully created light by light by light, and to create a photo that's really beautiful and gorgeous. I'm not against natural light, but I'm for having control of light.
Yeah.
Sometimes
You
God's
can't.
light isn't perfect in a place,
No.
or you go into a dark church and the tungsten light is horrible. And so you have to paint with light, you have to like recreate it. And I'm all for just being in control
Yeah, that makes
of
that,
my art.
and that makes all the sense because you can't control the light. And I've seen there's been that because you have a lot of videos on your site, and you'll see where the light changes. I think that there's that one where
Yeah.
you're playing with light and you're showing one light and then trying to use natural light. And if there's clouds or there's things that come, it's you have a lot more control. And that's, I guess that's in
Yeah.
the end to control your vision, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one of the big things is going into a shoot. Like, what's the concept? What are you trying to say? If it's a story about this woman that lost her husband in a, I don't know, a car accident, you don't want it to be super bright and poppy, right?
No,
You
you
want to
don't.
like get that feel, that emotion. And so if there's a bright sunny day coming in the window, that doesn't really like tell that story.
Mm-mm.
So you use your lights and you bring some drama in it. You change the light to where it's a little more of a blue tint, and then maybe you have a warm peak of light coming in from the shades that she's looking at, of a little bit of hope. But you control that whole situation, and the whole mood of a photo. My goal is when someone's looking through a magazine, that my image stops them and they're like, oh, whoa, what is this? And then they want to read about it. This is what one thing I tell my subjects is like, we're on the same team. I might have some weird ideas, but just know I want people to read about you. I want
Mhm.
people to hear your story. And to do that, we have to do something different. We have to do something creative and interesting. And so I want to visually start getting people down that track of your story, and then they're going to read about you.
I keep thinking of going back to Rolling Stone covers and
Hmm.
how they would sell the magazine itself. It was the
Yeah, totally.
like because of, or at least, and I was a subscriber because of that. And then it was interesting. And then the article could be completely different than what you had seen on the cover,
Yeah,
but the power of a photo. And I don't think I
huge.
realized growing up how powerful photos were. And when I took the course at San Diego State, I remember we went to the zoo one day and we all took photos. And I remember taking a photo of a child's shoe. I probably should have been taking a picture. I should have got permission to them, but I was taking a picture, and the shoe, and you could see the kid kind of diffuse in the background, or bokeh. But it was really, there was something special, and it's just amazing
Yeah,
how a photo can have so much power. And do you
yeah.
still get chills from photos that you take? And I've like, you take a lot of photos. Like I wonder how many,
I
hundreds
do.
of thousands probably a year.
I, I get like, there's a moment in a shoot that I hope for every time, and that's when everything comes together and works out. Like I tell my students in that photo school, if you show up early, you have a game plan, you have go bys. If you're prepared, you show up to the location, you set up your lights, you got plenty of time to set up lights, test it on an assistant. And so your photo is going to be good no matter what, because you took the time, lighting looks great, it looks good. But if your subject comes in and is really fantastic and wants to be there, and has good movements and stuff, your photo is going to be great, not just good. If your subject gets there and it's just like, whatever, let's get this over with, you still got a good photo.
Mhm.
So that moment that you've set everything up, you love it, you love the concept, subject comes in, they play real well with it, or their outfit is just awesome. All these elements come together, then man, I'll get the chills. I'll like just feel like you're in this zone and you're just shooting, creating beautiful, gorgeous art. And those are the moments I like live for. That just everything comes together and you're just creating really beautiful stuff.
Yeah, and it's like almost out of body. It's almost or
It
religious
is.
or or something. It's just so,
Totally.
and then it feels really good at the end of the day. And it's funny too because I didn't realize that people like connected their camera to their computer and they're running things through. And then I actually didn't really realize it that much until I talked to, do you know RJ Hinkle?
Yeah,
Well,
he's
yeah,
awesome. Yep.
yeah. I
Great guy.
talked to him, and he does stuff with like huge teams of people. Like I
Yeah.
didn't, but I just didn't realize how much, because he said sometimes like you're just staring at the computer and you're not even really even. It's just
Hmm.
sometimes the process changes, and sometimes it's just nice just to be shooting with a camera and with
Yeah.
that. but I just didn't.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of like behind the veil things that I didn't quite understand. There's one thing
Yeah.
that I don't want to forget to ask you. That
Yep.
death row
Mm,
story that you did is so it's it's hard to look at sometimes. It's just because it's
yeah.
so powerful. And how did that come
Yeah.
about? And how was that? It's not hard to like. People can. I'll put links below to that because I want people to see it. But it's how
Cool.
did that come about?
Dude, that was wild. That was for Marie Claire, UK. Strangely enough, like
Wow.
Marie Claire wants to do a story on this, but yeah, they called me, and it was down in Huntsville. Went down there. The main story was on this one young guy, and then I got some shots of this other guy that was a part of it a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, that was weird, man. It was strange going into it, knowing that I'm about to photograph a guy that in 2 weeks is not
Yeah.
going to be on this earth anymore. Like he will be dead in two
Hmm.
weeks. Um, so, and then my assistant, for some reason, his paperwork didn't go through, so he couldn't come into the
Oh.
place with me. So it was just me and my equipment, and I only supposedly was going to have like, I don't know, it's like 5 minutes with this guy or something, or maybe 10 minutes to set up equipment and to get shots with him. So it was just rushed. I had to like take all my emotions out and
Hmm.
just set them to the side and think I've got a job to do visually. I have to look at images. I have to find the composition. I have to get lighting. So that moment I had to just like get out of my body, out of my
Yeah.
head and shoot it. And then I'm talking to him on the phone through the screen, just saying, hey, okay, we're going to do this. Hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
You're going to look up here, look up there. And he was like the most polite,
Yeah. I was wondering how what his
gentle,
demeanor was.
kind person, which really kind of flipped me too. I
Hmm.
was like, he seems
He
like
looks
my
almost
neighbor.
angelic or something. There's something
It was
where he
so
feels
weird.
like almost like there's like a calm or a peace or something.
Totally. Yeah. Which I was hoping to kind of pull out and not see this
You did.
gruff, angry
Hmm.
person on death row. So anyways, we shot, it was pretty quick.
So
And then
unique.
in the end, I was just like, I felt all the emotions but at that moment I had to just pull myself out and like look through my viewfinder and
Yeah.
just
Just
focus,
that's so
which is
weird.
interesting in photography. Like I feel like once you put that camera to your face and you're looking through this viewfinder, that's all you see. I kind of understand like war photographers. There, all these bombs and gunshots are going
Oh
off
yeah.
around them, but they're there and they can just kind of separate themselves to where whatever you're seeing in this viewfinder is all that matters. Like nothing else is happening around you, and
Well
you're
that
just like
yeah.
getting the shot. It's
And that actually
interesting.
kind of sells photography in general because we're so distracted.
Yeah,
There's so much going on. There's so much in life. And to be
yeah,
able to calm and focus on something and try to find the
totally.
beauty in something or find it, the harshness or whatever you're looking.
Yeah,
That actually I
it's
never
like
thought about it.
I got these the new AirPods where they have noise canceling. It's like that. You put them in, you
Hmm.
put the noise canceling, and it's just like, like
Hmm.
you could just focus. You don't hear all these things around you. It's just like, whoa, you put your blinders on, and that's like all you see. It's like that, like
And,
visually though.
and it's kind of nice to get there because
Yeah.
you're not there all the time. Now let's talk
Yeah.
about like what gear do you use? Canon or do you use like,
I've always just shot Canon. It's
yeah.
what the people that I assisted shot, and I just kind of followed in their footsteps. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I used to. But it's
Yeah.
something because I think a friend was using Canon
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
started. But then you start to, for people that aren't familiar with maybe just shoot with their phone a lot. It's once you start using something, you become familiar because they're all kind of different in
Yeah.
their own ways.
Yeah.
Like shooting with the Sony would
Totally.
take a learning curve, even though
It would, yeah. And you have all the lenses for it. You have,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
so
you
like to
become
totally change it is like crazy
it's,
expensive.
it's like Apple, like they get you, like you're once you're in
Yeah,
in their in,
exactly.
in their universe, then you're just kind of stuck and you're like
Oh, you're a
ah.
lifer. Yeah. You
But
you
I've
got
wanted
to
to.
be.
I've been curious. I've wanted to go to the AT&T is what I have here. Not no sponsor, but I wanted to go to their store and see like can I get like a Google like on my plan just to because I know there's some better phones for photography or for low light and if it
Yeah.
could sync somehow, but God knows if that's
There's no way. Yeah.
but I don't even know if I'd
They
be able to
got
figure it
you.
out.
Yeah,
So let's talk about that
exactly.
photo school. Is this something that you were always in, and Flocc Studio too. I want to make sure I talk about those two things and your
Yeah.
favorite barbecue places. And you said you're a gluten, because this is a barbecue thing, but because you said you're a gluten-free family, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally. We have to be.
Okay, all right. So
So
that photo school, what's that all about?
yeah, so it was during COVID, a lot of sitting at home at the very beginning, just thinking through
Yeah, wondering what was probably going
life.
to happen, yeah, life, but also for your
Yeah,
career, because your career involves
exactly.
being, yeah.
So basically shut down everything. Of course, everyone knows that. But anyways, came to a point where, and I've always kind of thought through this, but like there's so many photographers out there, great photographers that learn by just picking up a camera and shooting for years.
Mhm.
And now they're great at what they do, getting jobs, all that. But I just realized how few people actually know and understand light. And then I thought, there's a pretty huge barrier there. You either have to like go and get a degree in it, pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to go and get a degree, or the other option is watching videos online.
Yeah,
And
from
that's like scrummaging through 1,000 YouTube
so many. Yeah,
videos,
no, I've
and
done.
10% of them are good, and
Mhm.
you waste so much time.
Yeah,
Or you buy a set of videos from someone, and there's 10 videos, and that's great. But what if like you don't understand this part, or don't understand this, or whatever? There's zero
yeah,
connection to like the teacher.
yeah.
And so I thought, man, I feel like there's a gap here that I could fill, because I feel like my specialty is I just love lighting. I love controlling lighting and sculpting with light. And then what if I created this class where you're watching videos, but we're also having critiques. You also have an assignment. And then I'm talking about your images, saying, oh man, this is awesome. This is cool. What if you thought about this?
Yeah,
Did you have problems with this? And it's so much more of an interaction with me because I'm there the whole way.
yeah.
You can contact me. So I feel like it's bridging that gap, and it's not expensive. It's not like you're going to college,
No,
but you have this connection with the
but it's
teacher.
enough money to make you want to pay attention too. Like it's just enough that,
Yeah,
like, because if it was $10 a month or something, it would be, and it's a month, and it's a monthly thing.
totally.
It's Are there three different, because there's foundation, there's advances, there's
Yeah.
something else I keep trying to
Yeah,
figure out.
exactly. So it's kind of like I didn't know how to set this up or anything at the beginning.
So I
It
love
was
that.
so much like work. I just knew what I wanted to do. And so setting up like Kajabi is like the program that it's on that you
Okay.
go through. And so there's all these, I had to learn how to use cameras, like video cameras and microphones, and what works and what doesn't. So
And to
there's this
share your screen and
process. Yes, exactly. StreamYard and
Mhm.
Zoom and all this stuff. So you get through that. I forget where I was going with this.
Oh, I was asking like the different levels that people can
Yes,
sign up
yes,
for
yes.
this. Sorry.
So at first it was just, I'm going to create a weekly video, one piece of content a week, and then we're going to be talking about it and have a private Facebook group or whatever. So that's how it started. But
Mhm.
then it's kind of grown and changed. And so just to explain it, it's 4 months is the foundation,
Okay.
and you walk through lighting, how to use equipment, kind of all the tools. And then there's an 8 month if you want to continue on, and that's an advanced course.
Okay.
And then that's where you kind of learn how to control light, how to tell your story, through light. And then you can just continue in what we call the community. And that's basically just a simple, like, it's like having a studio mate. Like you're
Mhm.
just there. You're not getting one piece of content a week, but it's more like the relationship. You still have art or creative projects you got to do. We're going to do a in real person, like art show, where people are going to send in
Oh,
their photos. We're going to have it here at Flock. I'm going to invite a bunch of my photographer friends and photo
that's
editors and art
great.
directors, and have this really cool show where they're looking at your pieces, and we're trying to figure out a way of having them comment on your pieces and give you like encouragement.
That's
So that's a part of like the community. I also have like office hours is what I call it, where you could schedule a 30-minute time period with me, where if you're, some of us, as we're growing in our photography and we have a
Mhm.
big job, it's like, I don't know how to bid this. I'm nervous. I don't, like, so you could
Yeah, that's
schedule
a
30
hurdle. That's
minutes with me. Yeah. To just say like, hey, what do you think about this budget? How could I do this? What do you think about lighting? And you just have the
so this is my
connection with
office
me.
hours right now.
Yeah, exactly. You're almost up.
I think I've gone past. But so for people to get their head around this, they sign. It's a website, but it's
Yep.
also connected to a Facebook group, which is a
Yeah.
private group, and then on the and there's also specific projects that are
Yeah.
due within a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however. And
Yeah, totally.
but what's I want people to understand when they sign up, and because there's a waiting list, right? There's
Well, we only open it up every 6 months.
okay, is
So you
that what
can
it is?
sign
Okay,
up on
okay,
the waiting list and
okay,
then I'll
yeah.
let you know when it's coming up. Yeah.
But it's also these critiques, because I haven't looked at all of them, but I've looked at them because I haven't had the opportunity. But when you they're very, very supportive. The groups,
Yeah.
the group of people they comment on the different photos, you comment, and it's something that people, I think some people are also nervous. And also, to be honest, I would be nervous too,
Yeah.
to show, just to, because you're opening yourself up to
Totally.
discussion about something that's like within your soul. So it's something that
Yeah.
you put a lot of time into.
Yeah,
But
totally.
it's not it's so people that might be wary of that, it's not that way. It's not something where you're going to
Yeah.
feel like, flayed at the end, like
I
it's
when I missed when I got out of school was kind of that
Mhm.
accountability of not having something to do or something expected of
Mhm.
me. I miss critiques. I miss people talking about my work and being inspired by other people's work. And so that was something I definitely wanted to put in here was here's an assignment. This is how I shot it. You go shoot it. You
Mhm.
have 3 weeks and then we talk about it. And talking about it is like 95% like positive and encouraging and
Mhm.
and then there's like a little bit that I
Of
do like to
course.
say, hey, like, did you think about this? Or next time you do this, you might think about this. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not, but it's very like friendly, encouraging, but still pushing you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And also, like, the Facebook group is very
Yeah.
supportive, and it's a way for people, for other photographers, to connect with other photographers and
Totally.
like-minded people, and then connect with their Instagram and with social media, with life. And you have people
Yeah.
come in for shoots. That's sometimes something that you offer, like you'll offer up that I'm going to be doing this shoot, or this
Yep.
critique or something, not critique, but you do something at your studio.
Yeah. Just
And
like a
that,
workshop.
yeah,
Yeah. If you're
especially as
around, come
COVID
on.
starts to, yeah, even get better, I'm sure things will change.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that group, I mean, it's amazing because like people like pass jobs on, like they can't do it. And so they're like, hey, like, Jimmy, your work has been
Yeah,
awesome. Like, can you shoot this? You're
that's in your
you're in the same
wheelhouse, kind of.
city
Yeah.
I am or whatever. Yeah. So it's just a place I loved it. There was a big difference from when I got out and was trying to shoot on my own. I was as photographers, we're just lonely, like
Yeah.
by ourselves. Feel like
Like it's
everyone's competing. But then I got into the studio. There was 5 of us guys, amazing photographers, Matt Hawthorne, Scott Slusher, Andy Klein, Will Graham. And we all just like encourage each other, help each other. I would see Scott go shoot something cool, and I'd be like, dang it, I got to go shoot something cool. So having that is
that's
what
it.
I want to create, like, in that photo school
I
is
think you
like
have.
that camaraderie. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I
That's
feel like
that's
it's
the goal.
and someday you'll be seeing my stuff, and I'll be sitting
Don't be
on the
scared.
Zoom. Maybe this is my entree to, like, going to one of the cocktails and catch, because you even have like cocktail
Yeah.
and catch up thing where you have just chat and catch up, and you don't record those are just something that you do
Yeah,
for and also
exactly.
for someone that's really into photography, that doesn't know lighting, that's great, but also that doesn't understand the business. You discuss a
Yeah,
lot of the business aspects, and all the
totally.
stuff that's on the website resides there forever. That's something that's
Yeah,
you could always go
absolutely.
back to. I've gone to things multiple times just to get my head around, and it's expensive for lighting, but also there's ways to do it on a less expensive level to start out. It doesn't have to be,
Like getting lights, you
but yeah,
mean?
purchasing the actual equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. Yeah. Some people think you've got to like go and buy the pro photo stuff for like thousands and thousands of
Oh.
dollars. And there's a lot of gearheads out there, and I'm not about that. I'm as long as you have the tools to control the light, that's what matters. And
Mhm.
so, sure, if you're shooting sports, you might need to get these lights that have kind of a fast, like sync where you can do high speed sync or
Yeah.
whatever. But most people don't need all that. You get yourself a 400 watt, Kodak slide or something, and that's plenty for you right now. And then you just slowly build up, you know?
Yeah, that's just kind of like you would with a camera too. You would just, you don't have
Yeah,
to
exactly.
buy a $4,000 lens to take great photos.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
No, I advise people don't go buy
Yeah,
a piece of
actually don't,
equipment.
because that'll make you really
Yeah.
sad.
You're in debt, and then you like you're trying to get
Yeah.
out of debt. That was one thing. One of the guys I assisted early on, one of the wisest things I got out of it was he said, don't go into debt getting into photography. Like as you're growing, you of course get a camera, maybe get a light, but then when jobs come up that need more, just go rent it for a while.
Yeah.
You know, pay $50 to rent it, charge it to the client, but don't go get into debt, you know, buying a
That's
bunch
great.
of
I was going to
stuff.
ask you what you felt like your biggest piece of advice or biggest mistake would be, and that's great advice. I've
Yeah.
rented. There's there's a lot of lensrentals.com. There's a lot of different
Yeah,
places
totally.
online, and you can rent for a week, and it's not as expensive as you think. And they send it to you in an awesome, really great box, and it's all padded,
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
fun to play with a special like a lens for a week, and then realize that didn't work. I'm glad I didn't spend that money on that,
Yeah,
or I hope to aspire
absolutely.
to that. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, maybe just a year ago, I've been shooting for, I think 18 years. And
Okay.
just a year ago, finally bought a wide angle lens, a 16 to, what is it? 16 to 35, I think. Because when those times, I usually don't use those. When they would come up, I would just rent it. And then finally, 17 years later, I buy
Yeah,
one.
buddy.
Uh, just because I'm like, okay, I'm shooting for this one client enough to where it makes sense if I just buy it.
Is that for
Because
the airplane company?
yeah, that's
Okay.
yep,
What's
yep.
it called? Mile
So
Air? We could
millionaire.
Millionaire.
Yeah.
Mile Air.
So
Why
I'm
would I do
shooting,
Mile
yeah,
Air?
these jets that you have to have a wide angle lens
That
to
makes
kind of
sense.
shoot the whole
Hmm.
thing. And it just I tend my photos, I don't like to shoot where it's like this wide angle. I'm usually shooting with my 24-70. Maybe I'll use my 85 if I want some really shallow depth of field, but
So
I
that's your
like
go-to
things like
lens, is your
real.
24/7?
Yeah, man. I use that probably
Yeah, I use that
90% of
all
the
the time
time.
too.
Because for me, it's not about getting like, I feel like it could be a crutch if all your photos is just like super shallow depth of field. It's like kind of a cheat,
Hmm.
like the subject's in focus, everything else is out of focus. I like to use the background. I like to, like this, like the video right now. I
Hmm.
like to have good composition and have something here and have something over here. And, like I'm use it as a tool to tell the story, the background. I don't want to just blow it out and just be about the person. It's just one of the ways I shoot. I
Yeah.
like to shoot a little bit wider and have the background be a part of the story.
Yeah, it's interesting how different photographers have different ways, because there are people that just you could see, but it's just the subject. It's just a subject,
Yeah,
and the
totally.
back. Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like
oh,
I'm
that's a
not saying
style.
that's all bad. It's just, yeah, a style. And I like to get a little deeper into it.
So if
Yeah.
someone's listening to this and they're interested in using you, would it be the best way to get a hold of you through your website, or is your phone number on your website? Is that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my email is definitely on there. I think my phone number is on there.
Now, when you texted me today, I forgot. I'm like, I didn't remember that I even texted back and
Yeah,
forth.
I had to find it because it was just numbers in my phone. And so I was like,
Good
I
for
think
you.
this is Kevin. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, that's
surprised.
kind of the better way, is
Can
shoot
people
me
do
an
people come
email.
by Flocc Studio, or is Flocc Studio a private studio that you guys all have? Or?
So yeah, so Flocc it's a co-working space for creatives.
Okay.
So of course I don't mind if people come by, swing by and say hi or whatever. But it's a space where people have offices, and it's not just photographers, a bunch of photography, bunch
Mhm.
of video, bunch of painters and designers and
Oh, that's
illustrators,
great.
just all sorts, which is
Yeah,
amazing. I love
ideal.
it. But we always have people just swing by and, like
Yeah.
hang out. So that's totally fine.
Are there still other spaces available for people now, or is it something that you're
We
full?
have, so the bigger office spaces are totally full now, which is great. But we have like open space available.
Okay.
So I think it's like,
So a lot of people don't have studio space, right?
yeah, totally. So we do have a studio here, and that's a part of the membership. Is if you have a membership here, I think man, I want to say it's like 250 or something like that for just an open
Membership
table
of.
space.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And then if you're shooting in the studio and it's not a paid gig, you're just building up your portfolio, it's
Mhm.
totally free. If it is
Oh,
a paid gig, then it's half off for membership. So it's really great.
that's
And
cool to know.
actually, you can use all of my equipment as well. So my equipment is here. And
Wow.
then if you're just shooting a test, building up your portfolio, I let our members just use my equipment. And so you have
Oh,
access to $30,000 worth of
yeah.
equipment,
Yeah,
which is
it's
a
not,
pretty big deal, if you're starting out. So yeah, we
wow.
we do that as well.
Do you find yourself working with a lot of people, like when you're a big team when you're doing shoots, or is it job
That's a
specific
good
or?
question. I don't like to. I like it's probably
Yeah,
just my
because I don't know if I would
personality.
either.
No, I like just me and an assistant, maybe two assistants
Okay.
rolling in and shooting a magazine story. I'll shoot some advertising every now and then I have to have like my hair and makeup and my stylist and digital tech and all these
Yeah.
things. So I can do that. It's just not my like comfort zone. Um, I I kind of came through the ranks with Matt Hawthorne. He's this amazing photographer.
Yeah,
He
and
shoots
you interview him on this.
yeah, totally. So he shoots for Nike and Gatorade and all these big companies. And he loves it. He loves having a 20-person set and all this stuff. And I just
It's a
don't.
different kind of pressure too. It must be just, I don't
It
know.
is, yeah.
Now, have
I
you
lo-
ever done a shoot? I've always wondered, have you ever done a shoot and then it wasn't safe? I guess you're always backing up somehow. Are you always like backing up through the computer and then are you putting it on a
yeah.
hard drive? Because I one time worked on a project at the Academy Awards and somebody was running the cards and they lost
Yeah.
or they put them out of order and they were formatting the
Oh
wrong.
my
Uh,
gosh. Oof.
and that's like a
Yeah,
moment
that's
you can't
that's
capture.
that's the nightmare. Yeah. Usually I'm shooting editorial stuff. I'm usually just shooting to camera
Mhm.
because I want to move quickly and I want to change things and change locations. So then when I get back to the studio, I'll download it and I'll back it up on two
Yeah.
hard drives and do the whole thing.
Yeah.
If I'm shooting a bigger job, I'm shooting tethered to my laptop. And before we leave the location, that's backed up on a hard drive.
Yeah.
Um, so I do multiple ways, but
Have you ever
the
had that
majority of
moment?
it.
Have you lost good photos ever?
Um,
I don't want to jinx this.
not on a job. No, no, no. Not on a job. I have had in one of my old studios at the very beginning of my career, someone broke in and stole my hard drive, and I
Oh,
didn't have that hard drive backed up, um, and in a different location. So I lost probably 2 years of work,
oh, that's a
um,
shame.
just like that, which is horrible because that was like the beginning. Like I'd love to just go back and
And those
look at
photos,
those
yeah,
photos,
yeah.
you know.
Well,
So
and
that
to
happened.
surprise yourself, and then also to just to say, like, see how far you've come. That's a,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So since then, I've learned the importance of backing up two different
yeah,
systems, two different locations. I've had a I've had a hard drive fail. Fortunately, I had it backed up. So
yeah,
you learn pretty quickly. Don't don't just have
no, no.
one
I've
like one set
yeah,
of
like don't just keep it on your
holding it.
computer. I've learned that with this too. Like I've
Yes,
done,
yes,
I now back it up like on a hard drive at the cloud, like I do, so that way, yeah.
totally.
Because
Yep,
because
yep.
catching what we've done again is, and I've had to restart it, and then I've recorded for like 10 minutes, and then I realized I wasn't recording somebody, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, I did that when I first was learning, like in teaching that photo school. I recorded this whole thing. I had like a video person out there, like two assistants, a model. We did this whole thing, and then because I'm learning audio, we finish it. Everyone goes home. I listen to it, and the audio
oh,
sucked. It wasn't there. Something was happening.
mhm.
So I had to redo the whole thing. And it was just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this kills me.
It's
Um,
terrible, especially too if you feel like you've captured some moments that are important. Or
yeah,
yeah, no, I've done that
yeah,
with this too, like audio. Like I listened to it, it was like just sounded like it was like tires were screeching in the background the whole time, or it was just a really hollow, weird sound, and I felt bad for and I try. You can get a bunch of programs online to try to clean up the audio, but
yeah.
it's not. I'm not a,
It's not the same.
and it's also not my expertise, so it's not something. Well, so
Yeah,
what do you love about Texas?
man, I'm kind of I love the mountains. We always go to Colorado.
Mhm.
Like, in the summers for a couple of years. My
Gorgeous.
granddad has a cabin up there he built 40 years ago.
Oh wow.
I like the ocean too, but there's something about Texas and just the like wide open like space
Hmm.
that for me and my personality is just like comforting. Granted, I live in Dallas and it's
Yeah,
not so much.
you're in
Uh,
LA. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But when I go out to West Texas or to Marfa or
Oh, that's
something like that, and
I
just
dream
to
of.
like be there in the desert kind of area, and as you could just see forever, is just I love that. Some people don't like the desert, but
Hmm.
I really love it. So there's that. I love the people. I feel like,
Something
people are
different.
just kinder,
Hmm.
slower paced here. Again, that changes a little bit in Dallas specifically, but Texas overall, people
I know a
tend
lot
to
of people.
be
I know a
more
lot of really
kind.
nice people that live in Texas. I mean, excuse me, that live in Dallas. That,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but there's yeah, but I hear that, and there's a lot of nice people in LA, but there's just certain,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think people here will tend to like stop and engage in conversation. A lot of places, LA or New York or
I agree.
something, everyone's like, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go.
That surprised
So
me the most about Texas.
yeah. So people will take time to kind of help you out or chat or whatever. So I like that. Dallas specifically, it's good, like business wise.
Yeah,
There's a whole lot of work here. Tons of businesses that are growing and expanding. And so that's a good thing specifically financially about being
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Dallas is there's just a ton of new businesses and work. And
And it seems like
so
there's a
that's great.
lot to photograph across,
Yeah,
and it's so diverse. Texas is so diverse that you can go to
totally.
so many different places, and there's like things are so different in so many small towns, and
Yeah.
you'd have to get
That's
out of LA or have to see that.
yeah, that's what I love that because when these national magazines will hire me, sometimes it's in Dallas, but sometimes it's in Fredericksburg or
Oh
Marfa
yeah.
or whatever. And so I've been to Marfa, I think like 4 or 5 times on assignments. And I love going out there. And so that's one of the coolest things about being an editorial photographer is you always are in a different place, meeting someone interesting and cool and hearing their story. And so in Texas, because it's so big, national magazines will usually hire someone from Dallas or a big city to go out and
Yeah.
shoot something, so that's nice.
Yeah. Is other barbecue places that you adore?
I mean, Austin is pretty bomb on barbecue places. Franklin's really good.
Is there a place like close
There's
by that you like go to place that your family would go to close by you?
in Dallas.
Yeah.
So we have Lockhart's that's like
Yeah.
maybe 3 blocks away. They're a good place. Pecan Lodge is amazing. I don't usually if I'm going out to get barbecue, it's like lunch and I don't have an hour and a half to
Yeah.
stand in
Yeah.
line. So I don't usually do Pecan Lodge. My mom lives in McKinney and we go to Hutchins
Yeah.
Barbecue,
Yeah.
which I have been very impressed with. It's like really, really good. And strangely enough, a kid I went to high school with, it was his family,
Oh, really?
and he took it over. So I know the guy that owns it, and so that's always kind of fun. It's like that's that like niche that I love to shoot. I
Hmm.
love to shoot glass makers and whiskey makers and
Yeah.
artists, and so I love just it's a different culture,
Hmm.
and I love having a little glimpse into these cultures. I shot these catfish noodlers in Oklahoma for
I remember seeing it.
I forgot what it was for. And it was like so out of my wheelhouse, like, but I absolutely loved it. I went and met with them at their house and they take me to the gun range shooting. And then we go out in this, like in the Red River catfish noodling, and they're like pulling out these huge catfish, wrestling them. And it's just
That's where you
so
stick your arm in a hole,
weird.
right? And
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Well, initially you stick your foot in the hole, and then if a catfish hits your
Oh,
foot,
is
then you
that?
know something's in there. And so then you go down with your hand and, and pull them out.
There's a whole thing of that. Like it's a whole. There's
It
a
is, it
yeah.
is. But
That,
that I love just having life experiences like
mhm.
that, like I
And
just feel
it
like
gives you that
it
opportunity
expands
because
my mind.
yeah, because we should all be growing. We all should be learning. We should be
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's a curiosity,
Mhm.
like sometimes we just get set and like life just kind of continues on and you just stay in your little bubble. But man, just having that like curiosity and seeing how other people live and change early on. I think like right out of school, I went to Israel for 2 months. And that just expanded my mind of like, the world isn't just America, and it's just not American
Really?
culture, which, you know, growing up,
Of
that's kind
course.
of what you think.
Hmm.
But then you get over there and it's just like that sort of like mind expanding experiences that I just want to continue my entire life. Just
That's
like
great.
set myself up in weird situations, you know?
And it seems like that with that photo school, you're really giving people an opportunity to hopefully expand their vision of the world and their experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just see the possibilities. Like
Yeah.
with, you know, lighting specifically, like people don't really realize what all you can do with it and
Hmm.
think if I just had a camera, I could be this photographer. And you can, but you're also always going to be limited until you. That's why, like in the first part of that photo school, I mean, it's like a whole month of just understanding the concept of light.
Yes.
So I'm not teaching you turn this on, put this here, put this diffusion on.
Mhm.
We're just thinking, understanding, dissecting photos, like just understanding light. And then once that like foundation is put, then you could build on top of
Mhm.
it. But you really need this like foundation of just
Yeah.
understanding light.
And you have videos where you're for 45 minutes shooting something, changing f-stops, changing the light,
Yeah.
changing the
Yeah, for
and
sure.
so and seeing where things go. Like it's
Yeah.
really, really, really helpful. And you're making mistakes along the way, or not mistakes necessarily, but you're seeing
Yeah,
like things are too dark, too light.
totally.
It's really, really helpful. This isn't an advertisement as much as it's just something, an endorsement, because it's very unique. I've signed up
Yeah.
for a lot of photography courses online, and it just feels like they're telling you a bunch of stuff, and then that's it. And you're going like, good luck,
Yeah.
good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important for photographers or really anything you do to realize when you're looking at the professionals images in a magazine or whatever, that they don't just walk up on set, take a photo, and that's it. Like there's a whole process. So
Mhm.
when your first shot, it's going to be horrible. My first shot on location with a subject or whatever, it's going to suck. But that's the importance of understanding light, is because then you look at it and you're like, okay, what don't I like about this? How am I going to tweak it, change it? And then you shoot again, and then you shoot again. And, you know, so it's like you're building this thing up, but the understanding that professional photographers are taking really bad photos until it's not a bad photo,
Mhm.
and that is okay, because some people get on location and they're shooting and then they start stressing out because this photo
Yeah.
doesn't look good on their camera. And I tell people, my students, just like slow down, process, think through what's
Mhm.
happening, what do you want to happen. So even just that understanding that
Yeah.
we all have really bad photos every single shoot until we
Yeah.
tweak it to where we like it, you know, is a
And
kind
you're
of a big thing.
and bad environments, or
Yeah,
not optimal environments, and you're
absolutely.
turning that environment. I think that goes along the
Exactly.
same lines. It's something that a lot of times people maybe would think, well, I'm just going to shoot there, but you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing, is you go into these locations and it's horrible lighting, but when I go in there, I'm not looking at lighting because I'm going to change the lighting entirely.
Mhm.
I'm looking at colors, I'm looking at textures, I'm looking at composition, and then I'm going to create the light to where, I mean, almost all the time when the subject looks at the photo, I'm like, you know, like, what do you think? This is kind of what I'm doing. And they're like, what in the world?
You're
Like,
like, how did that happen?
that's this place, because
Oh, that's
I'm,
so
you know,
great.
like making the light, like whatever is in my head, you know, I can do lighting wise. So
That's great. Well,
yeah,
thank you,
it's
Justin.
nice.
I don't like, we've spoken for an hour, and I
Have
appreciate
we?
this.
I didn't
I
even
know, yeah,
realize. Yeah,
so
that's
much, but
great.
I appreciate it. No, it's gone by really quickly. But I just to wrap it up, what are all the different ways that people, like, we can go on for, and maybe we'll do a part two in 6 months or something. But
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
what are all the different ways for people to get a hold of you and sign up for that photo school and all that?
Yeah, sure. So my photography stuff is usually, most of it's on Instagram. And that's just at Justin Clemons. My website's justinclemons.com. Feel free to email me,
Yeah.
Justin at Justin Clemons. Very easy. That photo school is thatphotoschool.com. You can get on there and just see all about the school,
Yeah.
sign up on the wait list or whatever. And then Flocc is just flockstudio.com, and that's the co-working space of
Cool.
creatives.
Awesome. And then is the Facebook group just private right now, or is it
It
something?
is. It's
Okay.
just
Okay.
for the
Yeah.
members of that
Okay.
photo school.
So great to just chat with you, and
Thanks, man.
thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll
Bye.
see you.